only these three things: application, allotment, call. Keep in mind that only these three things: application, allotment, calls on shares. These calls on shares are depend on the problem. I'll explain the journal entries. Keep in mind only these things: application on shares, application, allotment. First, the applicant need to fill the application form, then allot the shares among the applicants. Next, using the calls on shares, they will pay the remaining amount. These are the accounting entries. The first method for the issuing of shares at the par value. It is a first method. Using the journal entries, we need to solve the problems. There are total 6 journal entries are there. All these 6 journal entries are depend upon these phases of the share capital. So as I told that, remember these things, keep in mind: application on shares, allotment of shares, calls on shares. The first method is the issue of the shares at the par value. So first journal entry. I'll start the first journal entry. Students, clear all the phases of the share capital. What is minimum subscription? What is the allotment of shares? These questions will ask for the 2 marks. If it is okay, then only I will move towards to the journal entries. The very important topic of your problem related. At least you need to understand what is the minimum and what is the maximum subscription, because problems will be asked on the twisted the minimum and the maximum subscription. You need to identify it, and they're relating to the problem, relating to the method, the minimum and maximum subscription. The journal entries are the differ. One or two journal entries are the differ, and each and everything will be same. So for that purpose, you need to understand what is the minimum subscription, what is the maximum subscription, what is the application on shares, what is allotment of shares, what is call on shares. These points you need to keep in mind. So I'll start with journal entries. So the first transaction, every company is first they are issuing the prospectus, right? After issuing the prospectus, they need to fill the application form from the public along with the application money. So the first journal entry is on the receipt of application money. When you fill the application share form, that time the applicants are need to pay the application money. That time the journal entry is bank account debit to share application. Why bank is debit? Because on the receipt means the receiving the money. Company is receiving the money from the public. The application money received from the public. So why bank is a debit? Debit what comes in? Bank or the cash. Cash you can call cash or the bank. Debit what comes in? To share application. Why share application is a credit? Bank account debit to share application account. Here the share application form is a goes out. Credit what goes out. Right? On the receipt of application money, it means the transaction is receiving the application money from the shareholders. ಏನು ರಿಸೀವ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತೀರಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮನಿ, ರಿಸೀವಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮನಿ. ಸೊ ದ ಜರ್ನಲ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ is bank account debit to share application. Which money you are receiving? The share application money. Bank account debit to share application. Why bank is a debit? Debit what comes in. And why share application is a credit? Credit what goes out. The share application is a goes out. So the being share application money received. The first transaction is receiving the share application money. Receiving means cash. Received means cash. Cash account debit, cash or bank account debit. ಎತ್ತರ ದುಡ್ಡು ರಿಸೀವ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತೀರಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಟು ಶೇರ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್. Clear? The first entry is clear? First transaction. Second, allotment of shares. After receiving the application money, the company has allotted the shares to the each individual shareholders. So what is the journal entry? So this is transfer entry, not allotment of entry. Transfer share application to journal entries are very easy. Transfer share application to share capital. So first you need to write the received money, receipt of the share application. Then that share application money is transferred to share capital. Reverse entry. Here the share application is a credit. Here you need to debit. The share application account debit. That amount is transferred to share capital. Share application account debit to share capital. Here the share application money is transferred to share capital. Narration is wrong. Being share application money transferred to share capital. So each transaction are split into the two entries: receiving, transferring, receiving, transferring. Total there are the three phases, that is the application, allotment and calls. The calls are depend on the problems. Right, the first is application. Application, it contains the two journal entries: receiving journal entry and transferring journal entry. Receive journal entries: bank account debit to share application. And second, the received journal transaction is the application money transaction is transferring that amount to the share capital. Application account debit to share capital. That is share application money transferred to share capital. Here the share application is credit. Now the next entry, the second journal entry, it is debit. Share application money transferred to share capital. Clear? The first transaction is receiving the share application money. What is the entry? Receiving means cash. Cash or bank account debit. Which money you are receiving? The share application money receiving to share application account. Credit, share application account. Being the share application money received. Second journal entry, the share application money transferred to share capital. While transferring to the share capital, that share capital transaction entry is credit. Share application account debit to share capital. Here you are transferring the share application money to share capital. So the entry is share application account debit to share capital account. Clear? These two entries. First is the receiving entry, second transferring entry. Total you need to keep in mind that the four entries, that is first share application phase, second phase allotment, third is the call. It may be first call, second call, or the final call. It may be depends on the problems. How many calls the companies are using depends upon that the problems are solved. Problems means the journal entries will be solved. So the first is the application. So the application relating two entries, receiving and transferring.